All right, we're peeking into the future today. Welcome back to all you amazing humans who attended session 1 today. If you're just tuning in, we're glad you're here with us, and welcome to today's Marketing Profs Friday Forum. I'm excited to kick off this second session of this Friday Forum on the topic of future trends. And hey, I'm George B. Thomas, speaker, trainer, catalyst, and inbound evangelist. But more importantly, I'll be your moderator for today's adventurous educational event. Now, before we begin, we have a few updates and housekeeping notes. So if you experience any audio or visual problems, please try to refresh the page or log out and log back in. And if you're on Wi-Fi and have multiple applications open, it could impact your viewing experience. So when in doubt, close it out. To chat today with your peers and Marketing Prof staff, click the orange chat button on the lower right hand of your screen. And also, don't forget the presentation slides are available for download at any time by clicking the download slides button located in the upper right of your screen. Be sure to stop by and check out our sponsor Mountain's booth at some point today for additional resources. You're going to want to get them. They're great. And finally, if you'd like to follow today's conference conversation on Twitter, please use the hashtag #Improvs. Now, please join me in welcoming our next two presenters and today's sponsors, Haeri and Hooman Javidan. Ali leads all marketing and communication efforts at Mountain. He's an instructor at UCLA Extension teaching marketing and advertising courses in the business and management certification program. Hooman leads all demand generation and performance marketing efforts at Mountain. Previously, he served as director of international business development at GIG, working on global expansion strategies. They're presenting today on CTV and B2B, generate demand and look good while doing it. I can't wait to hear all of this. At the end of the presentation, we'll ask Ali and Hooman your questions. So remember to ask a question using the orange chat now button in the lower right of your screen and ask your questions along the way because it's a first come, first serve situation. And we'll get to as many as we can. All right, Ali and Hooman, are you guys ready to rock and roll?
We are.
All right, take it away.
Thanks so much, George. My goodness, I was in a haze this morning, but George just woke me up. Appreciate that intro. As George mentioned, I'm Ali Haeri, and I'm joined by someone I work with, Hooman Javidan-Nejad. And what's cool about this presentation is the fact that we're here with our peers. Hooman and I are B2B marketers. We love B2B marketing, and I feel like we do it well. And so what we wanted to do with this presentation is sort of be a little disarming. We're just kind of like talking to our peers here and talking about our own experience using connected TV as an ad channel as B2B marketers. And so we're really kind of excited about this opportunity to have this session with you all, with a publication that we all read too. So this all just feels very natural for us here today. And so the big takeaway here is going to be that connected TV can be a real legitimate demand generation channel for all B2B advertisers. And I think for a lot of B2B advertisers, and we'll get to this in a second, their perception of television is one of a channel that's generally unattainable and inherently immeasurable, just TV generally. And what's great about connected television is that it's kind of bringing that prestige of television and marrying that with the efficiency of all the digital channels that as B2B marketers we're most familiar with. And so we'll dig into a lot of that here today. And so I'll start things off talking a little bit about the history of B2B advertising on linear TV and how fundamentally it could be sort of leveraged for B2B. And then Hooman's going to talk a little bit more about our own experience, go through a bit of a case study, a really entertaining one, I should say, and the tools and technologies that you'll need, what sort of mindset you'll want going into really trying to unlock this channel. And so then we'll wrap it up with some takeaways and, of course, answer your questions. Just to kind of start, the history of B2B on TV is not a long and rich one. It's quite simple. What I always mention to people is the probably the most common way you can encounter B2B advertising on linear television is if you're like a golf fan and you'll see a General Electric or a Boeing TV commercial on a Sunday afternoon during some PGA tournament. I'm not really a golf fan myself, and so I don't really encounter this kind of advertising. And generally speaking, it makes sense why you don't see a ton of B2B advertising on linear television. Because for the fundamental needs of B2B advertisers are just kind of incongruent with the advertising opportunity of linear commercials. And so, the things that B2B advertisers typically need, and think about this in terms of the channels that you use most frequently. Likely, you're doing a lot of search advertising, maybe some sort of social network, whether it be primarily LinkedIn, or if you have great audience data, maybe some other social network as well. Just generally speaking, the kind of needs of B2B marketers are efficient ad spend. We oftentimes don't have the luxury that our B2C counterparts do in terms of being able to experiment with our budget. Everything needs to be accountable, and our ad spend needs to be used as efficiently as possible. So that's certainly a need. Precision targeting, kind of going back to that first point in terms of needing to be as efficient as possible with our ad spend. We certainly need to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible with regards to who's seeing our advertising. And so audience targeting, or in the case of search, keyword-based targeting, is a huge component of a sophisticated and effective B2B advertising program. And then finally, accurate measurement. On the back end of a campaign, being able to kind of understand the results of what took place when you did your advertising, and using that information to sort of inform the next campaigns or the next optimization that you're going to be making. Now, as we just talked about, linear TV is sort of, it's not matched well with these specific needs. For starters, it's really expensive. There's a reason why you just don't typically see a lot of linear TV ads. It's just your like day-to-day order of watching television, not just on like a regulated to Sunday afternoon of watching golf. It's just incredibly expensive. It's also time consuming. Oftentimes you're going to need to work through some sort of agency and have it be a component of a larger media plan. This is just not something that a lot of B2B advertisers are going to be doing or have available to themselves. And then from an audience targeting standpoint, this is a pretty frustrating thing as it relates to B2B, where, again, we're used to precision targeting, going on a platform like LinkedIn, for example, and targeting by function or seniority or industry. Linear TV, I mean, it's really your best guess as the approach, trying to identify the best network, and within that network, the best programming that might have an overlap with your B2B audience. It's likely going to be really difficult to be able to find that perfect show and that perfect network where you feel like you're going to get great penetration of your target audience. That's just the nature of linear television. And finally, tracking the performance. I mean, this is an age-old problem, not limited to B2B advertisers. Really, anybody who's doing advertising on linear television, the measurement of it is incredibly vague and difficult. And there's a lot of gimmicks that you can do for TV measurement in the way of, lift studies in certain markets where you're running advertising or specialized URLs. But, as B2B marketers, we're used to precise measurement, precise targeting. This is just so unlike any channel that we're used to using. And so I'm with you all in terms of looking at linear TV and just not even considering it. It's just not something to realistically consider because it's just it's ineffective considering the audiences that I'm trying to target, and it's wasteful from an ad spend standpoint. And so, we're going to talk in the context of Mountain because that's the platform that we use ourselves. It's obviously our own platform, but it's also the platform that we use ourselves. But this guidance that we're giving you today with regards to connected television advertising, it's applicable to any platform. I shouldn't say any platform, but platforms that support connected television advertising in the same way that we do. In terms of treating it like a performance marketing channel. And so I'm just kind of flagging that so that this isn't sort of perceived as just like a product demo. We use our own platform as B2B marketers to do our own B2B advertising. And so, we entered using our own platform with the same wants and needs as you all with regards to all of the advertising that you do. We have a very precise audience that we're trying to reach. In our case, we're looking to reach advertisers, marketing professionals of varying levels of seniority. And so coming into our own platform, what was nice about it, and Hooman will kind of go into a little bit more detail about the targeting, is that we were able to really kind of identify the audiences that we wanted to target. And precision audience targeting isn't limited to just third-party audiences in the same way that you would target on, say, a social media platform. But also, site-based retargeting, that's part of like the bread and butter of B2B marketers, and also list-based retargeting through CRM functionality. So audience targeting, definitely in the case of a platform like ours with performance television, is something that looks and feels very similar to all of the other channels that you're using as a B2B marketer. Accurate measurement with a ability to do cross-device measurement. People are going to see the ad on television, but likely use another device in the household to visit the website. Having a platform that actually tracks that user behavior across those devices, again, tremendously important in terms of understanding the impact of that TV impression. And then finally, ability to drive specific goals. As B2B marketers, very frequently we go into ad platforms and we do goal-based advertising, goal-based objectives. Think about like going into Facebook or Google ads and indicating some sort of return on ad spend goal or a cost per acquisition goal. This is the same. This is not just some sort of open-ended brand marketing flighted campaign. This is going into a platform indicating a CPA goal or a ROAS target and a monthly budget and firing up an evergreen campaign. This characteristically similar to your search advertising in that sense, just a campaign that's always on. And so I'm going to pass it off to Hooman, and Hooman runs our performance marketing at Mountain, and it's a really impressive setup in terms of all of the channels that we use here at Mountain. And what's particularly interesting, and Hooman will get into this, is the role that connected television plays as a channel in our whole media mix. And it's actually quite an important one for us. But Hooman, please take it away and let's kick off this really interesting test that we did.
Thanks, Ali. Hi, and happy Friday. It's great to be back. Certainly a pleasure to co-present with Ali. And that's right, we just didn't build this platform, we are using it ourselves. Recently, our Chief Creative Officer, Ryan Reynolds, created 2 ads for us, 2 video creatives that we used to run connected TV advertising campaigns. And so there was an A version, there was a B version, which we're gonna see both of those 2 versions. And the way that we set up those campaigns was that we had one campaign dedicated to prospecting. And in that prospecting campaign, we used very specific targeting criteria to make sure we reach our ideal target audience. Our target audience are advertisers, marketers. So we got that granular, just like any other digital channel. We were able to identify decision level making marketers and advertisers, job title, all of those targeting criteria that you guys use on the other digital channels. So that was the setup for prospecting campaign. We had a separate campaign dedicated to retargeting. We retargeted our website visitors. And last but not the least, we had a campaign dedicated to targeting those accounts that we had identified as ABMs. We grabbed email addresses of those accounts that we had in our CRM and Salesforce. We grabbed a list, uploaded to our platform, and we ran matched audience campaign the same way that you run those type of matched audience campaigns on LinkedIn. So 3 campaigns, 2 creatives, and we wanted to see which one would perform better. The first one was using Ryan's face. The second one, the B version, was only his voice. Let's look at those creatives, and then we're going to look at the performance of those creatives. Let's play the videos.
Hey there, it's Ryan Reynolds, and if you're seeing this, you probably work in the marketing world. Now, I just wanted to let you know that my marketing firm, Maximum Effort, is merging with Mountain, which is one of the fastest growing companies in ad tech. They've built an amazing self-serve connected TV platform, which, not coincidentally, we use to upload this video. Now, if you're not in marketing, I apologize, you must be very confused. Visit mountain.com to schedule a demo. Unless you're not in marketing, which, again, massive apologies. This is Mountain. This is your brand on Mountain. Any questions? Yes, you probably have a ton. This is a pretty blind opening. Anyway, Mountain is one of the fastest growing connected TV platforms, and they just merged with Maximum Effort, the creative marketing company owned by this guy. No, this guy. That's why the mountain volcano metaphor kind of works. It's great tech, and it's great creative in one place. Visit mountain.com for more details. Don't worry, there's no lava. Hey there.
Thanks. Let's go to the next slide and see which ad performed better. So all of us, we were thinking that the A version, the one with Ryan's face in it, would perform better, but we were all wrong. And I think Ryan is still recovering from those results because the ad version without his face, with only his voice, actually performed better, like by a lot. The B version, the one with just his voice, had 117% higher visit rate. And a couple of learnings from this experiment was that, first of all, we would never be able to run these type of campaigns if we were not able to target marketers, because Ryan is looking at camera and say, calling out marketers. So if you're not targeting your target audience, then this ad obviously would not be relevant. And second learning was that to leave your assumptions at the door. Don't assume which creative is going to perform better. Run a test and look at the results. We were also able to track some of the other important metrics. Ali, let's go to the next slide, please. So the metrics that we were able to track, all of them are important metrics. You're tracking all of these. The first two metrics, share of website traffic, that campaign drove over 23% share of website traffic. It means out of 100% of all traffic sources, over 20% of that was sourced from Mountain Performance TV. And for conversions, over 16% of the entire conversions for that period were driven also from this campaign and Mountain Performance TV. Those two metrics are coming straight from Google Analytics. The exact same way that you are tracking the other digital channels' performance, you're able to track Mountain Performance TV and track those results on Google Analytics. Cost per visit, $6.72, really competitive comparing to the other channels, paid search, paid social. Verified visit rate, just over 3%. And this is like out of all those households that were targeted with this ad, what percentage of those ended up visiting our website? And that's over 3%. That's what we call verified visit. Compare this metric to the click-through rate that you have for LinkedIn, which the average is 0.4%. So performance TV actually outperforms also the other channels. It was the case for us, and it outperformed the other performance channels that we were running at that time. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when you are thinking about running a CTV campaign and you want to choose a platform, there are certain criteria that you have to make sure that platform has and is capable of. Number one, audience targeting. At the end of the day, your campaigns are going to be as good as your audience targeting. You have to make sure your ad is relevant to your target audience. That was the case for us. We ran video creatives related to marketing, and we were targeting marketers. If you have a solution for finance people or HR people with performance TV, connected TV advertising platform, you have to be able to target those audiences. Access to premium inventory. You have to make sure that it's basically protecting your brand. And with Mountain Performance TV, your ads are only served in a curated network of inventory. Only premium networks are going to show your ad. You should be able to run tests. A/B test for creative, for different audiences, for everything that you're able to test on the other digital channels. You should be able to test that with that CTV platform. And lastly, it's about measurement. As Ali mentioned, you have to run it in a responsible and measurable manner, rather than just being a brand marketing campaign without any capability of measuring it. So these are essential elements of a CTV platform that moves the needle for your marketing efforts. So let's talk about a little bit of demand generation. A lot of our peers, B2B marketers, when we talk to them, they say they run demand generation, but when we get a little bit into the details, their focus is only on paid search. And I think for 90% of our peers, demand generation equals to paid search. There is a difference between creating demand and capturing the existing demand. Paid search is going to capture the existing demand. It's not creating new demand. When somebody is searching for the solution that you provide and you have targeted those keywords, they already have a demand. They already have a need. For example, in our case, when somebody is going and searching connected TV advertising solution, they already have a need to run those campaigns. So the demand is there. They go to Google, they search. Our ad is going to show up, our paid search ad, hopefully a compelling description and headline. They're going to click on it, come to our website. So Google paid search is essentially capturing the existing demand. It's not creating any demand right there. And I think a lot of B2B marketers don't get that deep to understand the difference between generating and creating demand and capturing the existing demand. And that is really important to understand how to use each of the channels, because when you walk into each of these channels with the right mindset, then it will unlock a lot of great potential for you to do a type of marketing that really moves the needle. That is the case for me. That's why I'm in marketing today. My education background is in engineering. I went to engineering school. My professional background is mostly business strategy. If you look at my last 18 years, 80% of that is business strategy. And doing all those business strategy work for different type of companies, from startups to large public companies, from technology companies to financial services. And it was always launching a new product category, going into a new market. I learned one important lesson, and that was that with marketing, you can actually drive a lot of business success a lot faster. And that is something that you can never achieve with any other business function. But if you do the real marketing, and the real marketing is about creating demand, about generating demand, sales will get a lot easier. It gets way faster, and those type of impact can never be replicated by scaling the sales team. And the real marketing can be really powerful. I mean, it can be the lever that fundamentally changes the growth trajectory of the company. And that is the case for me. That's why out of everything that I could choose to do, that's why I chose to do marketing, because it can be the most powerful function of the business. It can be if you walk into it with the right mindset, if you don't consider B2B marketing as let's gate content and grab email addresses and call those leads and pass it to sales. Demand generation and the real marketing is beyond that. So let's go to the next slide and talk about how you can drive real impact with some real marketing, which is all about generating new demand with connected TV. So again, connected TV versus paid search. Paid search captures the existing demand, whereas connected TV generates new demand. With paid search, you are basically are capturing everybody who is already either familiar with your brand name, or they already have a demand for what you offer. Whereas with CTV, you are reaching out to incremental new audiences. Some of the audiences that they were not already familiar with your brand, or they didn't know that your solution can solve their problem. So CTV generates new demand. Another difference between CTV and paid search is that with paid search, it takes a lot of time to get to a place that it's really optimized and it works really nicely. You have to make sure you have a correct campaign structure. You have to make sure your keyword targeting is hitting on the nail. You have to make sure you're not going too broad, you're not going too narrow, and it takes a lot of time, efforts, and money to get that to that place. Whereas with CTV, you go live and the technology is going to take care of the optimization by itself, and there's no learning curve. You go live, you instantly differentiate yourself with everybody else in the space, and you start driving result the minute you go live with that campaign. So that's another difference between CTV generating demand versus paid search capturing existing demand. And the last point here is that connected TV is not responsible for converting your leads. Connected TV is responsible for driving qualified traffic to your website. And qualified traffic means traffic that is relevant, that is from your target audience. That's why audience targeting is important for connected TV advertising. And then from there, it's your website job to convert that qualified traffic into leads, into demo leads, content lead, whatever the conversion goal that you have on your website. Connected TV is a complement to your conversion optimized website. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we obviously talked about why demand generation is a lot more important than just capturing the existing demand or just gating content, grabbing email addresses and calling them leads. So I think we all agree the real power of marketing is in creating demand, in generating demand. And now I want to make a case that why CTV is the ultimate demand generation channel. The ads that you're running on CTV are not skippable. So ads are unskippable at a time that your audience is committed to watch a show that they like. So they're committed to be told a story. So they might as well pay attention to the story that you want to tell and convey with your connected TV ad. So this is something we call living room quality, because it's the largest screen in the household. It's not on your mobile phone. It's not on the smallest screen. And audience targeting and measurement capability makes sure that you get your message, your story in front of your audience, your ad is relevant to them, and then you are able to measure the impact of that ad on Google Analytics or anywhere else that you are measuring that impact. Let's go to the next slide, Ali John. Thank you. So obviously, when you do real marketing, which is about creating new demand, which is about demand generation, your sales team is going to benefit from that. I think if there is one thing that all of us as B2B marketers can relate to, and if there is one thing in common between all of us as B2B marketers, maybe it summarizes in that phrase that happy sales team, happy life. At the end of the day, our job is to make sales easy, and that type of marketing has that type of impact that your sales team will find a lot of success, their job become a lot easier, and sales become a lot faster, basically. And that was our case. I had a lot of conversations with our sales team when they were getting on a call with their prospects and leads. Those prospects and leads were telling them, oh yeah, I saw your Ryan Reynolds ad a couple of days ago when I was watching TV. And so suddenly those leads were not cold anymore. They were warm leads because they were familiar with Mountain. They knew who we are. And so it was a much better situation for our sales team when they were reaching out by email with those calls. And at the end of the day, being first in the mind is everything when it comes to marketing. And connected TV advertising is absolutely driving that type of impact. Prospects already know who you are and what you do. And for that reason, your sales team will have a much easier and a smoother conversation when they're reaching out to their prospects and leads. Let's go to the next slide, please. Kicking it back to you, Ali, to summarize our conversation.
Yeah, thanks. And like tremendous work, Hooman. You know, a couple of takeaways. I'd say the first thing that's sort of kind of off the board for a second is I remember talking to a couple of my friends who are also B2B marketers, and as this was happening, and I kind of shared the results of this with them, and they were kind of like, well, you know, what's the Ryan effect of all of this? Maybe it's because you got Ryan Reynolds in the ad. Does that have something to do with it? And you know, as you know, interesting of a hypothesis as that is, we had run campaigns for ourselves before Ryan that just kind of promoted the platform, and it still did well for us. The results were very similar to what they were in that A/B test campaign, and the reason why they were still effective was because they were hitting our target prospects and complementing the work that our sales team was doing. And so we still had that same takeaway in terms of the sales team saying, I talked to a prospect who said, oh, I just heard about your platform while watching TV a couple of days ago. And so, and we have a bunch of B2B advertisers on our platform that don't have an A-list celebrity involved with it, with what they're doing, and they're realizing great success. So that's one point. Another one that's kind of off the board here that I think is really important for this audience tuning in today is the thing that I like about B2B is also the thing that I think frustrates a lot of people about B2B, which is the boundaries and the framework of B2B marketing are pretty well defined. Like Hooman was talking about, like for a lot of B2B marketers, like your demand gen strategy is equivalent to paid search. There's a well-established B2B marketing playbook that everybody plays out of. And it's ABM, it's matched audience ads on LinkedIn, it's drip campaigns. We're not above it ourselves. We do all of those things ourselves. But what I think is really an important thing for every B2B marketer to think about is, how do you differentiate yourselves when all of your competitors and broadly every other B2B marketer is seemingly utilizing the exact same channels the exact same ways. And so the amazing thing about an opportunity like this is, you all know just as well as I do, it's not often that we have new channels that come to us as B2B marketers that can be as effective as our tried and true channels. And that's what's really exciting about this this opportunity for me as a B2B advertiser. And just to kind of reiterate some of the points that we made in this presentation, CTV finally sort of activates television as a channel for B2B, provided that the platform that you're using is measurable and also speaks your language as a performance marketer. All those benefits of a digital channel, really it's that same sensibility you take into building campaigns on other digital channels. You bring that same sensibility over to a platform like Mountain. And then finally, I want to reiterate the point that Hooman made in terms of the leads that may come in from these campaigns. These can be really high intent leads, and this is a touch point unlike any other touch point that you typically rely on as a B2B marketer, and it can have a tremendous impact on the demand that you're generating for your brand. And so definitely think about that as you're sort of zooming out and architecting an integrated marketing communication strategy as a B2B marketer. And so with that, Hooman and I would be happy to take some questions.
Absolutely. I've been waiting to get to this questions portion, gentlemen. So let's go ahead and stop the sharing of your screen so we can see your faces in full, well, sort of HD, but at least see a little bit more of you guys on the screen. And let's just go ahead and dive into this. Barb asks, how does YouTube advertising fit into this? Is this considered CTV? Sorry for the newbie question.
It's definitely not a newbie question. It's a great one. So YouTube advertising's different. It can be, obviously you're going to execute your YouTube ad campaign within Google Ads. So you can still do your keyword-based targeting, and you can also do topic-based targeting as well. It's a couple of challenges. I'm not dissuading anybody from doing it, but as a B2B marketer, when I think of YouTube advertising, the things that I kind of struggle with are, is the audience there? Is there a good volume of people who are consuming content on YouTube reliably for you to be able to use interest-based targeting as a B2B advertiser? You're kind of entering the same sort of issues that you have with linear TV advertising if you're trying to do interest-based targeting on something like YouTube. The other kind of consideration with YouTube is that it's video advertising, which is good, and you can get some placements on televisions. But the reason why we prioritize TV so much and we have this concept of living room quality is because we've done video advertising before as a platform and also as advertisers. And we know that the quality of the inventory can be an issue from a brand safety standpoint. And also it's an ignorable ad unit. Ad blockers very regularly are blocking video ads. And also, when you're in this tabbed experience on your computer, you can just sort of multitask as opposed to having a captive audience on the biggest screen in the house. That's always going to be tremendously effective. Now, all of that being said, I think a savvy advertiser with also a healthy budget can be running YouTube ads as a sort of complementary set of advertising alongside your television advertising, but it's no substitute. And the final point too is it's a walled garden. So you're going to be constraining yourselves to YouTube and also Google, video inventory partners, as opposed to on television. We're talking about audience-based targeting, but against top-tier TV networks and shows.
Great. Let's continue down the road of questions because we're getting them here. Holly asks, can you provide examples of what are the premium networks?
Yeah, Hooman, I'll take the inventory as well. So It's really interesting the way that we approached building the platform was, and this is a differentiator between other CTV platforms, is that we focus on premium networks, and premium networks are the most well-known networks that you can think of. There's over 100 of them, but it's really sort of the who's who of TV channels that you're sort of familiar to you when you sign up for cable and you see that grid of networks. And we're talking about ESPN, ABC, Bravo, MTV, TBS, all of these well-known networks. And the idea for this is twofold. One is inherent brand safety. All of these networks sort of have brand safety built into them because they're also broadcast networks. And so they're attracting top tier advertisers. And so you really don't have that concern of brand safety when running against this type of top tier inventory as you would with just the open market of CTV inventory and some of the networks that you can see on some other manufacturer devices. The second and more important reason is in all of our testing, years of doing this, one thing that became very, very clear to us was that if you actually want performance, it's only going to come on premium inventory. If you're running a lot of ads on sort of really obscure inventory that's low volume, it might help in terms of just getting like a cheap campaign out the door. But if you're actually trying to drive measurable results, it's just not going to happen. And so we learned this from experience. And so as a platform, we have direct relationships with all of these different media companies and publishers. And so we have the buying power as a platform to really drive down the cost. But it's really those premium networks that you're just familiar with that actually drive the performance. You want those impressions versus some sort of obscure network.
So Jennifer asks, and all of these are this whole topic, by the way, is very interesting to me, as like kind of getting a light into something else to think about and not like just a typical marketing conversation. But Jennifer asks, given people don't click on CTV ads, how do you measure web visits? Is it through view through? Like, and I even lean into like, yeah, how are you measuring success in this situation?
I can take this one, Alan. Feel free to chime in. So we have identified a metric that is our proprietary technology. It's called verified visit. And what it does is in a given window that you set it up and define it in platform. It can be 30 days, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 7 days. In that window, if anybody from that household that have been served with that TV, if they go on any second device, because obviously you cannot click on TV ad, but you and all the other devices in that household are using the same IP address. So we are able to map those IP addresses and device IDs against each other and identify if a visit happens in that window of time on a second device and map it against that impression. And in order to make sure that we don't over attribute to performance TV, if that user has been exposed to any other paid media channel during that window of time, we don't take credit for that. And it won't show in Google Analytics as a traffic or as a conversion, to make sure that we don't take we don't do it over attribute, and we don't take too much credit for performance TV. That's
slick. Because by the way, I don't know about anybody else in here, but this is how I watch TV.
Yeah.
like I'm just saying that it literally is it. That's it. All right. So with limited time, let's keep chugging along here. Barb asks, how does evolving privacy requirements impact CTV, or does it?
Yeah, it's really, it really hasn't had the same exposure to issues that, the mobile world has really been experiencing. And so TV is not an environment where you're really dealing with cookies. And that's really been the big issue with regards to a lot of these privacy restrictions having an impact on the performance of campaigns, again, specifically in like a mobile environment. And so, yeah, we haven't experienced any sort of issues from a performance standpoint and a deliverability standpoint. If anything, we just see inventory increasing by the day.
Nice. So we'll close with this last question, or we'll do this last question, and then I'll close. Floyd asks, how narrow can targeting be? Is there a use case here for one-to-one or one-to-a-few or ABM campaigns? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I can take this one. So our suggestion is make sure you have different campaigns. Obviously you don't want to go one-to-one. You want to have a healthy size of audience that you want to reach. You have to make sure that audience is relevant to what you offer. But with prospecting, you can go a little bit broad or narrow depending on what is relevant. But if you want to get really in front of the target accounts that are important for you, you can upload that email list. We suggest at least 100,000 email addresses to be included in that email list to be able to see meaningful performance. And retargeting, obviously, if your website has 50,000 plus monthly unique visitors, you can always run also retargeting campaigns.
Very, very cool. Thanks again, Ali and Hooman, for being here. It's been a great presentation. Attendees, we really do value your feedback, so please fill out the survey link that will pop up momentarily on your screen. The survey link is also available in the overview box right under the live session pro tips. The final presentation day begins at 1:30, so like, I don't know, maybe like 12 minutes by the time that I'm done here that you'll want to log back on. But we're going to be listening to and watching Scott Sweeney and John Cass presenting on ABCs of AI content generation for marketers. And I can't wait for this one. You won't want to miss it. We'll see you back here in about 12, 13, 11. I don't know. We'll see you back here in a few minutes. Have a great day. Thanks, guys, again.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, everyone.